Back to that breaking news we brought you at the top of the hour. The U.S. Attorney's Office just announced Charlotte City Council member Tiawana Brown has been federally indicted. She's accused of falsely obtaining more than $124,000 in COVID pandemic relief funds.
We want to bring in our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes. Khalif, glad you're here. The timing to break this down. A couple of things. It's not just Tiawana Brown, family members. Let's talk about a federal indictment. What is that, and what are we looking at here?
Well, a federal indictment is handed up. It's not handed down. You will take it in front of a grand jury, and the grand jury will make a determination if the evidence that was presented by the U.S. attorney at the time was enough to bring forth charges, and in this case it was. And so think of it as a mini trial where they were presenting evidence. There's no defense, though. So this is only the prosecutor presenting their case. You know, I'd say they're presenting their case maybe to like a elementary school level, where I'm going to give you just enough so that you can be able to tell me if we have enough to prove our case. Not the same burden of proof that's required for beyond a reasonable doubt for a conviction, but enough to bring the charges. And that's what was done in this case. They've had a grand jury. The grand jury sent this back, and so now this indictment is here.
Khalif, the thing that you bring up when we talk about federal charges is the success rate. When these are handed up, it's not like, okay, maybe we have a chance, maybe we don't. When it gets to the feds, they almost always win.
90+% conviction rate. I mean, and you're either going to be pleading or being convicted, I should say. And so 90+% success rate in terms of once they charge you, there is a likelihood that you will either be found guilty at trial or plea out in some capacity. But these PPP or COVID-related charges is not something new. Looking at numbers, the IRS investigated 1,600 plus people so far. Almost $9 billion with a B dollars have been investigated in the totality. Also, you're talking about 735 plus cases have been brought, and of those, 376 instantly pled. The other folks are still pending, looking for some type of plea. And so those are the type of numbers that are out there. But that $9 billion of folks trying to claw back some of that money that never should have been released.
All right, and so I want to back this up a little bit for those that might be tuning in. So you've got Tiawana Brown, her two adult daughters, by the way. Wire fraud is really what these charges, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. You're looking at least 15 loan applications that were fraudulent, small business applications, PPP loans, false information, $15,000 spent on a birthday party. We do have a comment. We want to get to this quickly. We've got a comment and a statement from Tiawana Brown this morning. It says these allegations concern actions that took place before I took office. I've always been transparent about my past. I've worked tirelessly to serve my community with integrity and dedication. How do you back that statement up?
You got a couple
integrity and dedication when you've got this in front of you.
So you got a couple things that are happening there. You first talked about the wire fraud charges themselves. So you got to show that you have a scheme to defraud, and then you have intent to defraud, and then you have to use some type of electronic device, phone, computer, text, email, anything like that. You'll check all three of those boxes. That's how they'll be able to get you. In terms of the statement, that's probably more on the political side than on the criminal side. What they're saying there is most of the time if a person is charged with a crime while in office, it's going to be an attempt for them to be removed from office because you've done some criminality while there. Her statement is that all these allegations are happening prior to me being elected. So anyone that would say, well, hey, you should be called into question for your ability to serve. Well, your ability to serve while in office is what they were addressing. That's why making the statement of all allegations were done prior to me being in office or alleged to have been done prior to me being in office. That's what they are attempting to hit there with that type of statement, really just to protect the seat.
Khalif, one thing that makes this even more interesting is that Tiawana Brown and fraudulent charges, felony fraud charges, not something new. She served time for this. In federal prison, she became the first formerly incarcerated woman to take a seat on the city council. So does that complicate things at all when you're looking at a criminal history that this person already has a record of it?
It makes it hard when you're talking about negotiating some type of plea, because then their prior record level will be raised. And when the prior record level is raised, specifically in the federal scheme, when you're looking at structured sentencing, it does make it harder to negotiate. I mean, that is if, remember, anyone that's got these type of charges, or any charge, I should say, is innocent till proven guilty.
Right.
So we start there. But if you get to the role where you're having this conversation and it's ultimate that we've looked at the statement of facts, we've looked at all the discovery, everything they've given us is pointing that there's no way to get around this. You can't beat this at trial. So we're attempting to negotiate. When you've negotiated, well, what does that look like? What will you plead to? looking to find some type of plea, you're looking at this person's past to say, well, what box do you fall into that structured sentence? Are you going to be on the lower end? Will you be on the higher end? Or will you be somewhere in the middle? With prior felony convictions, she'll definitely be somewhere in the middle to higher end because she's already had prior convictions.
What do you do if you are representing Charlotte City Council? Because this gives the council a black eye going, she's a part of the city council. You knew what she was involved with before, even though this allegedly happened again before she was elected to the seat. What do you do to protect the image of the city council?
As the city attorney, my goal is to always, if I was representing them, my goal would be to make sure that I advise them of the legality of what rights you have, right? Mm-hmm. And so first we walk through, well, do you have an ability to remove a party? What would those processes look like? Do you have an ability to censure a person? Like those are probably the steps that they would be asking. What legally can we do? What legally can't we do? Additionally, you'd say, well, the people have elected her, and then because there's an upcoming election, the people would have an opportunity to re-elect or choose not to re-elect. I mean, I think within their legal framework, that's probably the most that they can do. Now, if there was something that happened while in office, I think that would be different. I think there would be an opportunity for council to make recommendations and make changes because it took place while in office. Now you're talking about while in the public trust position. Something that occurred before, even a prior conviction wouldn't stop you from serving, or a current investigation, because those are allegations, wouldn't stop you from serving. Because what we are now is that we are very quick to judge. And so what if ultimately this person is found, Ms. Brown's found not guilty? Right. So now you've removed her from her seat and she actually didn't do anything. Those are the things that you will be walking into if you went down that road of how do we remove someone while still facing pending charges. And I think that would be a bad precedent to start. Typically, you want some type of resolution and you want some type of vote. Either the people will vote them back in or they won't.
Right. And again, those allegations ended in 2021 when the wire fraud was attempted happening. So that would be before she got into office. I want to hop back to the statement that was released by Tiawana Brown. What does it tell you at all that she didn't deny the charges? She just said that they happened before and said that she's always operated in integrity and honesty. But she didn't come out and deny it. Nowhere in that statement does she say these allegations are untrue. What does that stand out to you as a lawyer?
Well, I mean, she's obviously had folks in the room that are telling her you have two things you have to do. You have to make sure that you protect your seat, but you also want to make sure that you protect yourself. And so both of those things are not often the same. And so that statement, specifically the part about the time frame, is all seat related. But she did make a portion in the beginning of her statement that says, I look forward to my day in court, to have my opportunity to address the allegations that were made against me. Those type of statements really go to, look, I know I didn't do anything, but I wanted to make sure that my attorney speaks for me in the court proceeding. That's the same thing that I would advise my client to do, specifically if there's even a hint that they may have something else out there. I don't want you to come out blatantly and saying, you know what, I didn't do all this. So then when it's attempt to negotiate, they're like, hey, what about your statement you just made 3 months ago? I want to have my day in court. I want the facts to come out as they may. I want to allow the justice system to play its part. Those are the type of statements you're advising folks to say, so that once I get the statement of facts, once I get the discovery, then I can have an opportunity to see exactly what's there, so that protects them for later portions.
All right, Khalif, thank you. I know we're going to have a lot more on this as it continues to unfold. Appreciate that.